Welcome to Cowgirl Up, the podcast dedicated to elevating your mindset. I'm your host, Lori Blickenstaff, certified mental performance coach at mentalgame101.com. Thanks for tuning in for another week of Cowgirl Up. I think you're really going to enjoy this week's theme. Each day, we're going to look at a different Olympian and their mindset. Personally, I've just always been fascinated by how these people can perform under the highest pressure ever and under the watchful eye of the entire world. Blows my mind. Well, the specific athletes I've chosen this week, they caught my eye because they openly share about their experiences, including their challenges and the importance of mindset. Now, obviously, they are all human beings, so they're not perfect, and their, ups and downs, both in their sport and their personal lives, have been, recorded on TV for all to see. But I just think that makes their stories that much more inspiring. So let's get started with the first Olympian I chose, Lindsey Vonn. I'm guessing you're all familiar with who she is. She's been around quite a while and had quite a storied career. But in case you don't know, she's an alpine ski racer she's amassed tons of wins over her career. But as far as the Olympics specifically, she's won 3 medals, 1 gold and 2 bronzes. Now, she is a native Minnesotan who later moved to Vail, Colorado, just like me. And that might be why I've always been interested in watching her career. You may have seen the footage from the Winter Olympics just last month in Cortina of the helicopter lifting her off the slopes after a horrendous crash, which I might add was not her first. But later, from her hospital bed, I think it was like the next day or the day after, she said, "I hope if you take away anything from my journey, it's that you all have the courage to dare greatly. Life is too short not to take chances on yourself because the only failure in life is not trying." Now, I've found in my studies that this is a common mindset among high achievers, that the only true failure is giving up or not even trying. It reminds me of a training I've done on the fear of failure. And I've always shared the definition of courage when we're talking about failure or fear, because courage is feeling the fear but doing it anyways. There's no such thing as courage if there's not first fear, right? I mean, think about it. If you do something and you don't have the slightest bit of fear or worry about it, you wouldn't call it courageous, would you? Well, back to Lindsey. I mentioned she had had other serious injuries in the past, some that everyone thought would be career-ending, but she overcame. And in her words, she says, "Through every injury, every recovery journey, and all of the moments of progress in between, I've discovered that strength is more than just a muscle. It's about your attitude, your drive, your mindset." Well, if that doesn't motivate you to keep building your mindset muscle, I don't know what will. But let me end with one last quote from Lindsey. She says, "Some days the mental game is harder than the physical one. That's just part of being an athlete and part of being human." Amen. I love that. And so this week's power statement fits right in line with her thoughts. It is, "Challenges make me stronger. Bring 'em on." And be sure not to miss any episodes this week because we've got 4 more Olympic athletes to take inspiration from. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions, feedback, or comments, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at lori@mentalgame101.com.